welcome. This is the college soccer session on creating a highlight video. I'm Caitlin, and this is Sean, and the two of us are going to be just talking about the what that goes into a highlight video, and then the how using a program called Huddle. So you need today, just make sure you have a computer with access to Huddle. If you just signed up in the last hour or so, just send me your email in the chat and I can give you access to a Huddle account. If you already have access to a Huddle account, that's awesome. You're just going to use that for the day. So you want to make sure you have a computer handy to look at some video later, and then obviously something to take notes with. And a reminder, if you just hopped on, asked everyone to just think of one question they had in relation to creating a highlight video. And Sean and I and Izzy love to stare at each other, but if anyone else wants to turn their cameras on, that would be wonderful so we can have a conversation. I know when we get to the video clipping, it might be a little harder, but always helpful when we can put a face to a name. All right. Okay. All right, so our plan for today is just briefly review the steps so far that we've talked about the last few weeks in relation to college recruiting. And then we want to talk about why we want to have a highlight video and the what of a highlight video. What goes into it? What should we be thinking about when we're looking at game film and we're trying to put our best foot forward in the clips that we're making? And then the how, we're going to do a little tutorial going through Huddle. How do you make clips from games you have? And then how do you put them together in a straightforward format that is easy for a college coach to identify you and see the qualities that you want them to see. And then we'll talk about next steps and wrapping up. Okay, so just a little bit of a review. So a few weeks ago, we sort of started with this series, and we really started with this idea of thinking about what you want out of the college experience. And maybe I'm starting to sound like a little bit of a broken record, but as you go through the process, it's always important to come back to that question. What is it you're looking for, right? What's a good fit for you? And we've talked about all kinds of different pieces: size, geography, role soccer plays, extracurriculars, etc., to continue to think about as you start to create a list of schools. One of the things you'll continue to do is your homework on what those schools look like. So right now you might be reaching out, looking at a bunch of the websites, right? Looking for schools that have academic programs you're interested in, or places near the beach if you like to surf, or whatever it might be. And eventually, when you start to have more contact with coaches, you'll start to look at those specific schools too that reach out to you, and there'll be a little bit of a back and forth. So just a reminder that this process is ongoing. Your lists of wants and don't wants may change. They may get added to, they may shift as you start to learn more. We also talked last week about communicating with coaches, so specifically about crafting a letter. So hopefully many of you have started or have a nice draft of a letter to a coach who you've never met before, you've never made contact with before. And both videos from the sessions are up on the YouTube channel if you want a refresher on that. So that's something that you're probably should continue to work on and refine. And then a piece of that letter will also be links to seeing you play. And so that's sort of what today is about, right? How do we create a concise look at you of who you are as a soccer player on the field and get that out to a coach when, especially in these times when they can't come see you live. Sean, if there's anything you want to talk about, feel free to hop in. Oh, this is you anyway. So, all right. So we're going to get started with the what of a highlight video. I'm going to turn it over to Sean.
All right, guys, I'm Sean. Just a couple things. I think a lot of you are in the same spot where perfect footage isn't completely available right now, or the newest footage. Just understand that everybody's in your same boat. So I think that's a given, and we'll just kind of move on from there. So one of the questions I saw in there was, how long? So when you're thinking about this, you're thinking about 3 to 6 minutes. with about 20 to 25 clips, because really you have just a little bit of time to grab the attention of the college coach that you're trying to get to sit down and take the time. And right now, you all can probably attest to this. You can get bored pretty easily. So think about yourself as well. So we'll kind of go through just a handful of things. So you kind of get the idea, 3 to 6 minutes, 20, 25 clips. In-game stuff is going to be your best option. So when you start having those, when you start putting those things together, or maybe you'll have some opportunities come up here as we potentially will get some game footage. Here's the things I want you to think about. I want you to think about the vantage point. So higher up is going to be the best that you can have. So game level is okay, but it's tough to see the whole field. So higher vantage point is the best. Thinking about if you're going to do it on your phone or tablet or any versions of that, please do it in landscape format. When you start to do these things, if whoever's doing it has access to a tripod. Now I know for some of our teams we have access to the high pod where it's an upper angle. If we don't travel with it, if we don't have those things, can we get it a little bit higher angle? And even just using a basic tripod will give you a better opportunity. When you're looking at how to get these things together, and then we'll talk about all of the different pieces, I want you to think about some of these basic things. This is not something that you want to be zooming in and out. So the idea of just getting you in the highlight is not what coaches are looking for. I want you to think about the field in thirds: defensive, middle, attacking. Can you kind of have that frame when it's being taken? So think about this can even help you with some of the footage that you already have. But when you start to do the videotaping or editing the things you have, maybe about a third of the field at a time. And that way you don't have to zoom in. And there's less opportunity to lose the ball as well, because what we don't want to see is having it one way and having the camera have to jerk really quickly to catch up with the play is. And then just with that wider angle, and then try to be able to see how things are connected. I'll get a little bit more specific about the position that you play, but the coach wants to see how everything kind of connects and where your role is. So now getting into the video itself, I want you to think about a couple of these things. Can you have a strong start? So can you grab their attention? So first 30 seconds, first 45 seconds, can you have something that shows, you know, clean touch, good decision making, ability to connect things, scoring, like whatever version of it is for your particular position? Can you start strong with the video? Know that not every clip has to be perfect. So some of the things is, if you do make a bad pass, how do you react to it? Or if it's not a clean touch, how do you react to it? So it's some of those things, like how do you work like react in adverse situations? And remember, at the end, add your contact info. So now we'll kind of get into some of the nuts and bolts of things that you want to have in the actual highlight video. I just want to just double check the questions, make sure I'm not missing anything. All right. So as you start to do this, think about the position that you play. Think about the position that you're hoping to be recruited for, and think about some of the skill set that goes along with there. So I can't see any ones because no one put their video on. So this next part is going to be a challenge unless some of you fix it. So for any of our defenders, so for our 4, 5s, 2s, and 3s, it's thinking about a few things that you want to include in your video. So it's defending 1v1. It's defending in small groups. It's defending corner kicks, restarts, showing some of your skill set of the ability to chase a player down, shot deflection, like all of those basics. Can you get into the attack? Do you have any clips where you're joining? And then how do you keep possession with your distribution? So there's all of the things that you just want as a good soccer player, but can you highlight some of the skills and some of the things that really make that good 2, 3, 4, 5? And how do you connect the lines? Can you show some of these things? Now, a lot of the different positions will build on themselves. So a generality for our 6, 8s, and 10s are center mids, working hard from both sides of the ball. So if you're having that, it's not only just working hard, and part of the reason you want a bigger view of the field is showing, can you defend lanes? Can you attack through lanes? Can you work hard defensively? Can you show where you can get into the attack and be that meaningful addition to your team, as well as what happens? Because we all know, like, we don't stay in the attacking third the whole time. There's going to be different times where you're going to have to really get back on defense. Can you show a recovery run? Can you show different ways that you're working hard? Now, this is a lot to squeeze into 3 to 6 minutes, but these are things that we can get into for our 7s and 11s. So for people that are playing those positions, it's, can you play down the line? Can you turn a corner? Do you have the ability to cross with both feet? Can you play 18 to 18 and have it just like, do you have the endurance to really do that? Can you show a change of pace? And then for the bigger view, again, it's, can you show creativity in your runs? And can you showcase the timing of your runs? Whether it's unbalancing teams, whether it's getting in behind, can you kind of showcase those things as you start to get going? If we get more specific, so let's say you're a 6 and that is your spot. Are you consistent? Are you reliable? So it's that ability, if it comes into you, can you change that point of attack? Can you win the ball in the air? Can you be a physical presence? It's really, can you have a clean first touch under pressure? And can you clog up some of those lanes? For our attacking center midfielders and our forwards, so that 10, that 9, potentially if there's 2 9s or like a false 9, whatever version it is, it's a little bit more straightforward. Can you show yourself scoring goals? Can you show the way that you have creativity in your runs to get behind the back line, dribbling, combining with players to find that ability? You also have to show some of the things that go into restarts and getting on the end of the ball, as well as working hard and shaping the field. I will not forget goalies. So when I start to look at our goalies, game footage is really good. I think this is the one spot where potentially a tough practice. So not just game footage. I would say goalies maybe have a little bit more advantage right now where they can put some of the work that they put in practices. But for our goalies, it's shot stopping, staying connected to your team, your distribution. Now, distribution can be broken down into 7 things. Can you punt? Can you throw? Can you use your feet? Can you be that change, the point of attack from your defense? And just general abilities between punting and just the distance that you have. So I just threw a bunch of stuff at you, and Caitlin's smiling, so I know I'm correct when I say I put a lot of things at you. Let's just start off with some questions that you had for me. From, it could be how long it should be, some of the details, or we can get into like the real details by position. If you want to toss in the chat, that would also work. Okay. So judging by the lack of questions, it's, hopefully it makes a little bit of sense. Caitlin, why don't you kind of hop in and tell me like what you heard and what I need to go over again?
Yeah, I think it was an excellent list. I wish I was a faster note taker. So maybe we can compile a little cheat sheet too,
Absolutely.
positionally, that we can post with the video as well. I heard a lot of, at least a handful of specifics for each position. Guess my question would be, if I was like a center midfielder and I had maybe I had 2 of those on a video where I did those well, but I don't have the others, like, what should I do? Like, do I wait? Do I not do a video if I don't have all those pieces? I don't know. Do you have thoughts on that?
I think it kind of depends on where you're at in your recruiting process. So if you are let's say you're a 2006, I would say you probably have a little bit of time and you can wait. I'd say for others that are trying to get on the radar, as we talked about last week, this is going to be it isn't just going to be, you're going to send one email and it's all going to be done. So I would say that this could almost be a living document where this first go, you learn how to make it, you learn how to edit the clips, you learn how to put things in there. I would say get started and do your best. If you want to just, for some of our younger ones, it may just be getting invited to a camp, identification camp, For some of the older ones, it's just getting the conversation started. So I would say if you have it, go with what you have. Um, None of this is going to be perfect. So part of it is, yeah, I threw out a lot of things, but at the same time, it's what do you have and what can you make the most of?
Another question I've had a couple of times from players is, let's say they're a center back and it just happened maybe in their high school team towards the end of the year. They got moved around. They played forward for a couple of games and they scored. And so I think the question is, okay, do I highlight myself playing in these other positions like they were quote unquote good clips, or do I just stick with my typical position in club? Like, how do I balance that out?
I think versatility is a wonderful thing because you may get recruited to play a position. You may have played one position your whole life and you get to college and 2 weeks in, coach looks at you and says, I need you to play this particular position. One of the things we chatted about is you have no control over who's getting recruited in the same class as you. So if there's a great center back and the, you're just in second place when it comes to them or a couple of them, but they want to get their best players on the field, they might have a different spot for you to play. So I don't think versatility is a negative. I see one of the questions is, what do coaches want to see and what do they not want to see? So part of it is what do they want to see and what do they not want to hear? So part of it is having someone yelling into the clip can be a challenge sometimes as you're trying to just get a feel for the game. It's really hard, and I can say from my own experience, it's really hard to watch a game where it's really shaky and it's consistently being zoomed in and out, and it's just on the player because you don't really get to see how things are going. I mean, think about your best players and the things that you see, even highlight clips that you see, even things that you see on Sports Center or just across social media. If it's usually see the initial pass and what they've done with it or the corner kick coming in, like whatever it is, you get to kind of see what led into that moment and then what happened afterwards. So I think having enough of an opportunity to see how the game develops and really make sure that you can see just the player's vision. Can you see, like, just have an idea of what situation they were in so that you can get a gauge of, you know, what their opportunities will be at the next level. Let's see here. Another question. Should you mix in different skills or sections? So there's a couple things to that. I think for the initial one, you are trying to send a highlight reel. If you have enough video where you can have a highlight one and then you could actually, one I saw recently that I thought was really good was it had a highlight reel and then it had two separate ones. She was, I think, an 8. So it showed attacking passes into the final third was one highlight clip, set of clips, and another one was defending. And I thought that was pretty clever. The highlight had, I mean, there's a lot of similar clips through there and some of the same ones, but it really broke things down if it gave whatever the coach is looking for an opportunity to see some of those things. See, how do I determine which clips are worthy enough to be in my video? I think if you think about some of the bigger things we said, can you see the ball? Can you see a bigger picture of the field? How pixelated is it? Is it in that vertical versus the landscape? So it's just thinking of some of those basic things to kind of determine what should be in your video. What other questions do you guys have?
Sean, I've been talking to a couple college coaches recently just about their experience having to recruit fully online, and a lot of them have made the comment like, when you sit down to watch several games or highlights, like sometimes they all just start looking the same, like the same speed or whatnot. And so I'm curious what your thought is on maybe how to differentiate the clips. Like, does it help to put, like, if you played a really strong team and you're pulling clips from that highlight or a name recognizable team, does it help to label the clip with the opponent? If you're pulling, 5 or 10 clips from that game in particular? Is it better just to leave them anonymous, high school versus club, whatnot? Any thoughts on those things?
I think any details you can provide are great. The more information, the better. I think now, especially, you could use that as a transition moment as you go from one clip to the next. You can use that as that transition moment coming in and out. Part of it is, what is the narrative that you gave in your opening email that you sent them as well. So did you let them know that you play club for this? You play for this height? Like, did you give them this information? And then now, yeah, layering in a few more things of, this was an MRL game, or this was, whatever version of it is, and kind of letting them know. I think part of it is, it just opens up a lane of conversation, because similar to what you brought up earlier, where, for my club team, I play, center back, but for my high school, they need me to play the 10, whatever version that is. If you're trying to um, kind of just add a little bit of color to your story, I think that's a great opportunity. It's a good point.
Other questions out there?
Would you say that we should put like goals and assists first, or does it depend on position as well?
I think it somewhat depends on position, but at every level, goal scoring isn't easy. So having the ability to change a game that way, I think, is a great way to start almost any clip. That's an exciting way. If you are in the back most of the time and you get up and win a restart or whatever the version is, or you've made a great run and you're the final piece of it, I'd say anything that grabs a little bit of attention is fantastic. It's not a requirement, but yeah, like kind of like I said, if you make this, let's say, a little bit on the longer side in 6 minutes, how do you keep their attention, and how do you kind of grab them from the beginning?
Thank you.
Should you do like have one video like a club, like one of your highlight videos is for club and one is for high school, or should you like combine them?
I think you should combine that in your initial highlight video. I think you can combine them. Now, let's say you're playing two different positions, Noah. So let's say you have to kind of do one or another. You may want to make like a second clip as you start to do this. And this, one of the things we talked about in putting the letter together, at the bottom is that opportunity for all of the links. So you can just kind of label them and just kind of like really be clear about what they're going to get out of this particular video. So I don't think there's necessarily a need for it, because it's still soccer. But if it's different positions or things are just different that need explanation, potentially it's making another one.
Okay, thank you. Also, should you do like, is it fine if you just do like a club highlight and then a high school, or should you like split it up in the highlight video? Like, these are my high school highlights and these are my club ones. Or can you just like mix them?
I guess, no, I have a question. Like, do you feel like the quality of play is different? What do you see as, is it just the difference in jerseys, or
Yeah,
what do you see as the
that's pretty
difference?
much it. Yeah, just like, yeah, different team and stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, if you wanted to make it almost in a timeline order, where if you're putting together a couple highlights from your summer, a couple highlights from the fall, spring, next, like whatever version you're kind of doing, if you chose to do it in a timeline, I certainly don't see anything wrong with it, as long as you can clearly identify yourself. And I think Caitlin will kind of talk about some of the tools that are available within Huddle as part of the workshop. But as long as you can clearly identify yourself, similar to what Caitlin says, like, we've watched so many videos that I don't think a change in jersey is going to disrupt the watcher from understanding what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. Miss Schletty asking, should clips be new or can they be a year or two old? I think right now it's part of what do you have. So if you can show growth in those, like, things that have continued to change. I mean, part of it is what is the story that you're trying to share? Yeah, but at this point, like, you kind of have what you have. And yeah, I mean, I watched video yesterday from, I'm guessing it was when she was end of her freshman year, and she's going to be a senior. So I mean, it's you do what you can. And then PK save would be a good attention grabber for goalkeepers. Yeah, big time moment, big time play. That's an attention grabber. I think that's pretty fun to see. I would say anything you can to just start that attention and keep them watching. Good job, guys.
Some good questions. Any others out there?
Yeah, I had a quick question. So do you recommend I have like a highlight video and then like another video that I kind of like compile all my clips into, and then I can kind of like choose which ones I like? Or do you think I should only have one video and then like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, should I have a video to the side that like kind of organizes everything, and then the highlight video which has the best stuff, or should I just have one highlight video? And then I guess, yeah.
So I just want to make sure, Yash, I understand what you're saying. Are you talking about sharing the bigger video as well, or are you talking about using that from an organizational?
Yeah. Just not to share it, just to use it for organization. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with anything, you're going to go through it, and the first time you put it together, you're like, "Oh, this is great," and then you look at another clip, you're like, "Actually, I could." It probably makes more sense to put this clip here and then kind of move things around. So I'd say anything that works for your, like, just your style and your organization is no problem. I think part of this is just getting good at it, right? Like the first run you make at it it'll be fine, but then you're going to get a little bit better, and the transitions will be a little bit cleaner, and just some of that stuff will get a little bit easier.
You got it. Thank you.
Yash.
I would just add that I think one of the things to keep in mind is this really is a taster, right? You're trying to hook the coach in to you to say, oh, that player is interesting. Like, I want to learn more. And then that typically leads to them putting you on a list to come see you play at a game or a tournament, or asking for a full game, right? So they can see what you look like in the greater picture of a match. So yeah, I think I remember thinking about highlight videos myself, and it's just, I would sometimes get stuck in the nuance of, oh, how many and too many? Oh, do I take this one out? And really, you want to hook them in. And then they might come back to you, Yash, and say, hey, I really loved what I saw, but I didn't see anything about, you defending in this part of the field. Like, do you have any clips for that? And then you can pull from your library that you just talked about. Right. Malin, did you have a question?
I was just wondering, because I've noticed looking through videos on Team Huddle, I was wondering if there will ever be games where we'll have like photographers or people with like better shots or angles on the game. Like,
Here's what I can throw. I'd say for the club has been using the HiPod from time to time, so I'd say yes. I would say from an individual standpoint, if that's something that you're trying to put together, that might be something that you'll need on your end when it comes to, because to me, it kind of sounds like you're talking about like for a personal version. I would, I don't want to speak too far out of turn, but I would say that's probably going to be on a personal choice if you have someone come out and video or take pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I would also just reiterate what Sean said before, and that really that high view with 2/3 of the field, if you can, and being able to see the build into whatever you're trying to show the coach is the most important. And I've seen a lot of videos with like really high quality still images and like cool action shots, and they're fun to look at, but they don't tell me anything about the player, right? So they might have the bells and whistles, but really what the coaches are looking for is that bigger picture of seeing you in the game and what's going on. So if you don't have the flashy stuff, I would not worry about it too much. Sean, do you agree?
I mean, I got to be honest. The transitions and that stuff doesn't really faze me. It's more about like, what is it that this person is doing on the field? If they're really saying, "Hey, I am a 6, I'm looking to see how reliable they are. How well do they win the ball out of the air? How well do they, connect the back line to the mid? How do they connect the field? I'm not really moved by any of the other things. Caitlin, I think that question's for you.
Yeah, that
Izzy.
Izzy, that's a question I can answer for the GA specific later, so we can get to that. Inga had a question. Would it be smart to leave the audio the way it is when the clip was taken, or should we add music?
If you're going to add music, I'd pretty much make it just basic. Think about the audio. If it's just people screaming or things like that, or just an awkward conversation, which you'd be surprised how often that gets sent. I would, if you can't make a decision, just mute it. Like that, send it without audio is just fine. But the sounds of the game are great. It's just being thoughtful about like our high pod is probably great versus someone that's holding the phone right next to their mouth and breathing into the phone, like all that. So it's just understanding what are the sounds, and I don't see a ton of shame in just having a mute or without audio.
Good reminder to your families when they're taking video of you to to just be wary of what they say, right? So maybe it's really important for you to show that you're vocal in the game. So maybe you actually you have someone video record a game where the goal is also to get the sound right. So just things to think about in the setup. All right, other questions, or should we move to taking a shot at Huddle here? Sean, anything else at the moment?
No, I think I gave a lot right there.
I think you did too. Okay, so we're going to transition a bit. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I'm going to share a different screen. And what I'd ask of all of you is just open what Huddle account you have access to. So when you get into Huddle, you should have access to your team. It should look something like this. So I need to make the screen bigger, else I can't see the tabs at the top. Okay. How about a thumbs up or a verbal yes if you're into Huddle? So I know we're ready to rock and roll. Couple thumbs up. Do we have any fake thumbs up? There we go. We got an emoji out there. How about the rest of you? Mia, Inga, you in? Jocelyn, Jordan? Noah, did you get in? Yep. Okay. Okay. So when you go into Huddle at the top, there should be a tab here that says video. So you want to click on video. And then what you're going to see is any video that's been loaded into the account. So if I'm just starting out to make clips, my suggestion would be go to this left-hand side of the screen and scroll down till you see content type and just click game, right? So it'll filter out the other stuff that's in there and it'll just put in whatever games you have into your screen. Okay, so I'm gonna go into this game here. And I know sharing Huddle in this fashion can be a little bit choppy. So I'm gonna try to minimize how much we watch live, but just to give everyone a sense. Okay, so we're gonna move through this whole clipping piece really quickly, but I wanna put it out there that this actually is probably what the bulk of your time is gonna be, right? Watching through games, identifying key moments for yourself, and then looking to make the clip. So this piece, just be mindful that it takes a good amount of work. And I would say it's not just for the highlight video, right? You actually learn a lot about yourself and about your team as you watch through. So kind of get into do a couple things in the process of creating the video. Okay, so I was watching this video earlier. I went the route of picking a player. So Kaylee actually said it was okay that I used her as an example. This is a game that Kaylee played in about a month or so ago. And I was looking for good moments that would highlight her abilities as a 9. And let's see, I think here. So in this clip, this where my arrow is here is Kaylee. And so one of the things I noticed that we've been talking about is Kaylee holding some space and coming back to the ball. And when she doesn't have space to turn, right, just connecting and helping us keep possession. Okay, so when I watched this clip, this was to me a good moment for Kaylee. She started really high. She's up here with the back line. Ball gets won. She starts to cheat into this space so she can cut this player to right out. She wins it. She lays off, and then she opens up into space where she could get it back. And she doesn't get it, but she's available with her body getting open to the ball, right? So, so here's a clip I decided, okay, good for Kaylee. What you would do here is, let me see. I'm trying to figure out how to see you guys and see my screen at the same time. Okay. So you'd find your moment. It doesn't have to be exact right moment, but you would hit create clip here in the bottom right. Okay. When that happens, you'll see this pop up in the bottom. So it'll say clip at, and it'll give you the time. So just click on it. This blue bar around the bottom is sort of the duration of time of your clip. Okay. So if I click here towards the beginning, I see the clip is starting when she's already giving the ball. So if we think about what Sean said, we really want to see the build up into that moment. So I'm gonna grab this edge of the bar and pull it so I can extend the time, right, to see a little bit farther. Okay, so then we can see what's going in the buildup. We can see what happens. And then probably at about this point, I'm gonna kill it. So I'm gonna move it back a bit. I would say, you know, clips of about, I don't know, 20 seconds is roughly a good estimate, unless you're trying to put together a sequence of somewhere where maybe you move between the thirds of the field. Okay, so once you have the duration that you want here on the bottom, you can hit save clip. One thing to keep in mind is, let's say you want it even longer, you would just hit this negative, I don't know, what is that, magnifying glass, so zoom out button, and then you would be allowed to drag it further in either direction. Okay, so we're gonna hit, actually, before we do that, we're going to rename it. So I'm going to say example live number 1. So you can do it however you want. You can name it like highlight 1, highlight 2, maybe to Yasha's point, you're going to catalog everything. So maybe it's an attacking moment in the middle third of the field. So maybe it's attacking middle third, right? Whatever system works for you. And then I'm going to hit save clip. Okay. So after I've watched this full game, I want to send the clips into a space where I can pull them later to put into a highlight video. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the clip you want, and you're going to click send to highlights. And because I have coach view, I see everyone's name. So I'm just going to put mine into the team, but you could click your name, right, and send it into your account. So add one clip. Okay, so that's been sent into sort of the highlight catalog or folder. Any questions so far? Making some sense? And in a minute, we're going to give you a chance to go and play with it if you haven't already. Okay, so then we're going to go back. And I want to look at some clips from a different game. So I had gone into this game previously, and I went through the same process. I watched through the video. I looked for a moment, and I created a clip here. Okay. And then I hit clip selected, send to highlights. Okay, into the highlights, boom, it's gone. All right, so now you're probably wondering, where does that clip go when I send it to the highlights? Okay, so we're gonna go back to the main screen where we were looking at the video before. Okay, so now you spent a really good amount of time looking at some different videos, or one video you have or a half that you have, and pulling out all your best moments, and you've sent them to the highlights. Now we want to compile sort of that short group of clips with the key information that Sean talked about. So you're going to go to the bar on the top here, and you're going to hit the highlights button. Okay, and when you get into this page, you should start to see some of the highlights that you've sent from different games, right? And I've done a really poor job of naming the highlights I've sent, so that's why they're all over the place. It's something you learn along the way. Still haven't learned it for myself. And then what you want to do is go to this button here. It says create highlight. All right, so when I click on create highlight, I'm going to discard it. So we're going to start over. You'll basically be sent into this workshop page. Okay, so this workshop page is going to allow you to do several things. First, it's going to allow you to pull all the clips that you just made in the videos into this highlight reel. Okay. The second thing it's going to do, it's going to allow you to add what they call spot shadows. So Sean said what's really important is that the coach can identify who you are in the field in the clip, right? So maybe you're in yellow in one clip and you're in red in another clip and in blue in another clip. How can the coach quickly ID who you are as you flip from the clips? So we will be able to spotlight you in those moments, and then you can add video and other things. All right. So we're going to start with what I think is the most important part here is the clips. So we're going to go to this a little bigger, this blue plus here. And we're going to get a menu on the right, and we're going to hit videos. Okay, so the clips that I sent over should be available for me to pull in. So I'm going to click here. I sent the same clip twice, as you can see. So I'm going to select one. Okay, and at the bottom here, and hit the blue button to add it. Okay, and I'm going to do the same for another game. So I'm going to click here and add it in. All right, and then we're going to go back. Okay, and you can start to add all these other things. So let's say the second piece I think would be most key is just the slides. So if you click slides, you can pick a theme. We'll go with this first one here. And this slide, I would say, is a good thing to put at the front of your video to just say, hey, here's my name, here's my number, here's the team I'm playing for. So I might put Katlin, Komodo, and maybe I always am wearing number 10. And then I might put a Salvo Soccer Club 2006, since it's a video we're watching. Okay. If all your clips come from the same game and you're always in the same color, you could also put blue jersey, right? So then it's really easy for the coach to know at the beginning, okay, I'm watching the team who's wearing blue jerseys. If not, leave that out and we can do identification later. Okay, so we're going to add that in. Okay, so this really is like a drag and drop. So if any of you have used maybe iMovie before or any sort of movie creating app, it's sort of similar. So you can pick it, you can drag it to the front, and you can put different pieces around. Okay, the third key thing I want to show you before I let you maybe go and give it a try is how do we identify you in the clips? So once we're in here, we can hit the edit button on each clip, so the little pencil. Okay, and what we have is, and I would start at the very beginning is where we want to put the highlight. If this center button here, this circle, gives you several options to sort of highlight yourself, right? To put yourself in the spotlight. There's a lot of options here. My advice would just be go with the simple and cleanest one. So you don't need all these flashing lights and wild things, just something that puts a circle on you and says, hey, this is me, and then we can move on. So maybe it's something like this. You can use these arrows to make the circle bigger or smaller. Okay. If it was an arrow, you would be able to rotate it. Obviously with the circle, doesn't matter, right? Geometry. And then you're just going to slide it over and drop it over you at the beginning of the clip here. Okay. And that's it. So if we hit done, we should be able to go back to the clip, and what it'll do is right at the beginning. Let's go back to here. It'll pause for a second and highlight you, and then the clip will run from there. Okay, so you don't have to add any pausing on your own. When you put that circle around you, it'll add that sort of second pause into the video itself. Okay, so then once everything's in here and you've circled, you can move manually the highlights around into any sort of order you wish. You can title your highlight video. You can choose a theme. Again, I would just keep it clean and simple. And I think those are the main pieces that I wanted to share before seeing if there were any questions from you. And I can't see the chat. Let's see if I can. Sean, were there any questions in the chat or anything that you?
There isn't anything new.
Okay.
I would say just that little circle or that little arrow is an absolute game changer when it comes to some of this editing stuff, because you know, guys with the same haircuts, everybody in pony, like whatever version is, it's tough to see. Like right now, it's not really easy to distinguish anybody. So it's really taking the time to do that, just to make sure that coach is watching the right person.
Yeah, it's actually, these tools are super nice. I think back in the old days, you would just put your jersey number and color, and a lot of times, as you can tell, it's really hard to read those things. So now we can just find you on the pitch and still have a big wide view of what's going on.
Yash, throughout there, what do I do if I have videos of games on different software?
Yeah, it's a great question. My advice would be to pull all of your videos into the same sort of organizing place. So Huddle is just one tool that I know we have some access to. Yash, I'm pretty sure we could get you your own account where you could pull some videos in. But it's good to get it all in one place and then clip from there. And Huddle's not the end all be all. I know people use different software. You might be really comfortable with iMovie and you have iMovie on your computer, and it's just as easy to make clips and put them in iMovie, right? And then you can add shapes and circles and pauses into the clips as well. So that's another route you could go.
One of the questions from Ms. Schletty is, would a circle be helpful for a goalie to get coach's attention on you? I mean, I'd say goalie is the one spot where it's a little bit more predictable, but I mean, I would say why not? Like it takes you, I mean, it took Katlin a couple of seconds to just toss it on there. So I would say why not when you come into view, and just make things as easy as possible.
Cool. All right. The last thing I would say is, like, as you clean this up and you're getting ready to send it out, you could add another slide at the end, which is like just the basics, like you might put at the end of your email, right? Here's my contact info. Here's where I'm playing next. You know, maybe you're going to Phoenix or PDA. And so you put that in there with the date. So it's just a nice reminder that the coach should write down that you're going to be there, coach's email or whatnot. And I think those basics, I think, are probably the most important in doing this. All right, here's what I'd love to do next. So for the next 10 minutes, we're gonna put you in some breakout rooms together. And I would love for you to go through the process of creating a clip and sharing it to highlights, and then just building like a very short highlight video. So maybe it's a slide and then the one clip with a circle around it, just so you've done it once. I think that's really important. If you're in a Huddle account and there's not video of you in particular, that's okay. Just pick someone on the field who plays your position and just try to find one moment where they do something remotely good, right? You don't need to watch for 20 minutes to find the best moment today. Just find one moment that's like a pretty good thing for your position, and then clip it and play with the length and create a little highlight video, okay? And Sean and I will be here. We can pop into rooms to help out as you guys work. Let's try this. Okay, we'll see you shortly. Welcome back. How did it go? Maybe one comment from each room. Where'd you get to? Any question that came up? Ashley, you got something to share with us? Or are you just having dinner?
Sorry, I accidentally unmuted, but Milan showed us her video since Elise and I hadn't made one yet, but that was helpful to see her.
Awesome. Cool. Yash, Noah, how'd it go?
Went pretty well. I had I think like I was doing something, but then it took me like 5 minutes just to get out of like the highlight thing. So I probably need to work on that a little bit, but
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing. I think it's a good reminder that there's a little bit of a learning curve. So it's just going to take a little while just to remember where things are. But once you do it a few times, it'll get a lot faster. So that piece I can promise you. Any other comments? Okay, let me share. So we're going to wrap up here. We've gone a little bit long today. Did that. Let's see over here. Okay, so next steps for everyone here is just start to work on gathering clips, right? When you have 15, 20 minutes, can you get in, watch a chunk of video, maybe make a clip or two? If you do that for a couple weeks, you're gonna start to have a nice library of things that can go into your highlight video. I don't think you need to worry about order, maybe not, at least not in the beginning, like exactly what you're clipping or how many moments. Like just look for the good moments, the things that Sean talked about. And then as you start to gather, let's say 20, 25 clips, you can go in and watch them all and you can say, okay, what am I missing, right? What have I not clipped of myself yet that's really important to share, all right? Keep refining that list that we talked about in the first session, right? Thinking about schools that come to mind. Maybe you're watching college games, any sort of sport, right? Basketball games or whatever over break. You're like, oh, that school seems interesting, or I've never heard of that place before. Look them up, see what they have to offer. It's a good time to just explore a bit. Give your letter that you've been working on. I would say one great thing to do in the next week would just be share that draft with someone you trust. So maybe it's your parent, maybe it's your coach, maybe it's another mentor you have, and just ask them to read it and provide some feedback. Okay, so you get some other eyes on it. And then lastly, Sean and I are working on getting a panel of student athletes that you can ask questions to. I think next Wednesday is what we're shooting for. So is that right, Sean? Did I give you that date? Okay, cool. Okay, that's it for us today. My regular reminders, right? Everyone's path is different. Be patient. This takes time. Continue to ask questions. Sean and I are always open to talk to you. So if you're working on this and you're like, I cannot find the clip button, or I have no idea why they're not showing up in highlights, shoot me an email. Okay. Give me a call, let me know, and I'm happy to help walk you through it, even if it's a simple question. All right. We want this process to be as easy for you, and we want to be as helpful for you as possible. Okay, that's it. These are some Friday. There's a couple, let's see, anything for this age group? There's a technical training session for Digital Soccer School Friday. Also an athletic development session late in the evening. And then not on here, but Saturday, there'll be another tech session and another technical fitness session for this age group, okay? So if you need to get out and move around and see some other people on Zoom doing the same thing, please hop on and join us. Otherwise, it'll just be me and Delaney by ourselves. All right, everyone. Have a great evening. If you have other questions, Sean and I will hang out for a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.